This resource was designed to support EALD learners in developing both their language skills and their understanding of sustainability, specifically caring for water environments. It integrates geography and literacy by explicitly teaching vocabulary and sentence structures alongside content. The use of visual supports, word banks, and sentence starters helps make the learning more accessible, particularly for students who are still developing English proficiency. Research by the Department of Education shows that scaffolding plays an important role in supporting EALD learners, as it allows them to access both the language and the content while gradually building independence. Overall, this resource aims to build students' confidence in expressing their ideas while also deepening their understanding of how we can care for our environment. This resource is designed for Stage 1 students who are in the developing phase of the EALD learning progression. At this phase, students are beginning to use more complex sentences but still require support with vocabulary, sentence structure, and understanding new concepts. Because of this, students benefit from explicit teaching of key vocabulary, scaffolded sentence support, and strong visual representations to support meaning. Opportunities for oral language are also important as speaking helps students rehearse and build confidence before writing. According to the New South Wales Department of Education, EALD learners require targeted and differentiated support to successfully engage with both language and curriculum content. This is why our resource intentionally includes multiple layers of support to meet the needs of learners at this stage. This resource pack aligns directly with the New South Wales HSIE K-6 outcome HS1 GEO01, which focuses on how people connect to and care for places and environments, including through sustainable practices. Through these resources, students explore key concepts such as responsibility for the environment, reducing waste, and sustainability, with a specific focus on water environments. The activities support students in understanding how their actions can either help or harm the environment and encourage them to think about ways they can care for places in their everyday lives. Importantly, this resource integrates both content and language learning. Research by Hammond 2025 highlights that combining language and subject content is essential for EALD learners as it helps them develop understanding while simultaneously building their English skills.
This resource supports EALD learners through visual, linguistic, and interactive elements to build language and understanding. Scaffolds are embedded to make both the task and language accessible to support participation. Visuals, vocabulary support, and sentence scaffolds reduce language barriers while maintaining cognitive demand, enabling students to understand, discuss, and explain ideas. Ubergang et al. 2024 highlights that visual aids promote equitable access, as many students rely on visual representations for comprehension. First language support further strengthens understanding and positions linguistic backgrounds as a learning resource. The resource supports EALD learners through multiple integrated elements. Visual sorting cards and a color-coded map reduce language demands by making meaning clear without relying on English. Bilingual vocabulary cards link new English words to students' first language, strengthening understanding and confidence. Sentence scaffolds support students to move from simple responses to explanations. Together, these features support understanding, participation, and independence in English.
This resource is structured using the gradual release of responsibility model, which involves teacher modeling, guided practice, and independent learning, Fisher and Frey 2021. This approach supports students to gradually take responsibility for their learning rather than being expected to work independently straight away. This approach provides EALD learners with clear modeling, guided support, and scaffolding before independent language use. In the I do phase, the teacher explicitly explains and models both the task and the language students are learning, Fisher and Frey 2021. The teacher demonstrates how to sort the visual cards into helping and hurting categories while explaining the thinking out loud. During this part of the learning process, key vocabulary is referred to in the learning resources are explicitly introduced, such as recycle, waste, and pollution. Research shows that EALD learners need explicit teaching of language, including vocabulary and grammar, Saunders and Goldenberg 2010. Freeman 2010 also emphasizes that when language learning is embedded within classroom instruction, EALD learners achieve stronger outcomes. Sentence structures are also explicitly modeled, giving students a clear example of both what to do and how to express their thinking, which is especially important for EALD learners. In the We Do phase, guided practice and scaffolding are used to support students as they begin to apply their understanding. Fisher and Frey, 2021. Students work collaboratively to sort visual cards and use the vocabulary and sentence scaffolds to support them to explain their thinking. Freeman 2010 highlights that connecting learning to students' prior knowledge supports their understanding. Therefore, during this process, the teacher provides support to students through questioning, prompting prior knowledge, and giving feedback. This stage is important because students practice speaking and sharing their ideas in a supportive classroom environment. Research shows that interactive activities should be carefully structured rather than left unplanned, and the importance of listening and speaking in developing language, which is why students participate in this guided discussion before independent writing. Saunders and Goldenberg, 2010. In the You Do phase, independent practice is important for consolidating learning, as it allows students to apply their understanding and strengthen their skills. Fisher and Frey, 2021. Students sort the images themselves and write their own sentences explaining their choices using the vocabulary and sentence starters provided. This allows students to demonstrate their understanding of sustainability and apply the language they have practiced. Freeman 2010 explains that independent practice helps students develop their fluency and apply their knowledge more confidently. Supports such as word banks and sentence scaffolds do remain available to support students while succeeding and building their independence. This resource has been differentiated to support students with varying levels of abilities, ensuring that all learners can access and succeed in the task. Fisher and Frey, 2021. For beginning or emerging learners, visual supports include vocabulary banks, first language support, sentence starters, and opportunities for oral responses before writing. These supports ensure that all students can access the task, as EALD learners require explicit instruction and structured opportunities to develop their communication skills. Saunders and Goldenberg, 2010. For more advanced learners, extension is provided through more complex sentences, justifications using connectives, and independent writing. Freeman 2010 reinforces that language teaching should be embedded as a core part of learning rather than treated as an additional component, which is why these supports are integrated throughout the task. These adjustments ensure that all students can access the learning, engage with the task, and demonstrate their understanding at their own level.
This resource is effective because it integrates explicit language support with meaningful geography content, allowing EAD learners to develop English while actively engaging in learning. As highlighted by the New South Wales Department of Education 2020, language is best developed when students use it in meaningful contexts, rather than learning it in isolation. This resource achieves this by providing structured support that enables students to access the content, participate confidently, and build their language skills. A key strength of this resource is the use of scaffolding. As Gibbons 2015 explains, scaffolding provides targeted support that enables learners to complete tasks beyond their independent abilities. In this resource, this is evident through the use of bilingual visual cards, color coding, sorting map, and sentence starters. The teacher models how to classify actions and then models how to explain thinking using a sentence frame. This is particularly effective for EALD learners because it reduces language demand while maintaining the cognitive challenge, allowing students to engage with the same task as their peers while developing control over English. As students gain confidence, these supports can be gradually removed, promoting independence in language use. This also aligns with Vygotsky's 1978 zone of proximal development theory, where students are supported to move beyond what they can do independently. In this resource, students move from identifying actions to explaining why, which requires more complex thinking and language. The scaffolds provided support this transition, allowing students to successfully engage in higher level tasks. This is important for EALD learners because it ensures they are not limited to simple responses, but are supported to develop both deeper understanding and more complex language. This resource also supports the development of academic language through Cummins' 2008 Fix and Calc theory. Students begin with simple everyday language, such as helping or hurting, and are then supported to extend their responses using structured sentence starters and vocabulary. This is essential for EALD learners as it supports the transition from basic communication to academic language required to explain, justify, and communicate ideas needed in the classroom. This resource aligns with the EALD learning progressions, particularly at the developing phase, where students require visual supports, structured language, and opportunities to practice speaking before writing. Visual elements such as images and color coding support comprehension by making meaning clear without relying solely on English. In addition, discussion before writing allows students to rehearse vocabulary, clarify ideas, and build confidence, which supports the transition from oral to written language. The inclusion of bilingual vocabulary further supports understanding by allowing students to draw on their first language, strengthening both comprehension and confidence in the classroom.